Hello everyone, and welcome to Module 3 in Week 3, Nursing 316, Professional Nursing for the Baccalaureate Prepared Nurse. My name is Dr. April Bice, and let's go over a little information for Module 3. So as you enter your learning module, you'll see your learning overview. This week we will be focusing on health and illness models for applicability to professional nursing practice, and we'll also be focusing on holistic care as it relates to professional nursing practice. The concepts of communication and effective group process will be discussed, and that group communication and individual communication will more simply be reflected in your discussion for this week. Your module objectives, as usual, are listed here. Let's focus on your to-do list now. You do have a few chapters from your course text that we would like for you to read, which reflect information that you'll be focusing on for this week. We also have a couple of web lessons we'd like for you to complete. Again, classroom activities are not assignments that are due for a grade. They are not to be submitted. These are simply things that we'd like for you to complete in order for you to be most successful in your assignments for the course. So in addition to the web lessons, we'd like for you to take a look at an interactive tool that we've listed here for you. This helps to discuss some of the communication variations of patient populations. In addition, we would like for you to review the Letter to the Editor Project Guidelines and Rubric. Let's open this up. The Letter to the Editor Project is the assignment that you'll be submitting by the end of this week. The purpose of this assignment is really to share your professional reaction for support of or against a contemporary nursing issue. Let's go down to the grading rubric. So the grading criteria and grading rubric are listed here for you, as ranged, like usual, from excellent to poor. This rubric will help you understand what's expected in the paper and also outlines all of the point deductions for which criteria that we're setting. Something important to note here is that if for some reason the article that you choose for this assignment is more than 6 months old, you will receive a 5-point deduction. So an important part of this assignment is to make sure that it is very recent, meaning that it needs to be published within the last 6 months. Please make sure that you read these more specific instructions and guidelines for the project. Next, we have a sample format for the letter to the editor here. Let's take a look at that. So here you'll see the sample format for the letter to the editor. You want to start your letter out by being professional, so you put your own name, your street address, city, example, or etc. You want to put your personal email. Your UNCW email is not permanent, so it's really not best to use this. But please make sure that you do use an email that is appropriate, with appropriate titles and names within the email address. You also want to make sure you appropriately date it. You want to address it to the editor. Sometimes you will find that a journal does not have an actual physical address. If for some reason that your your journal only submits online and you don't actually have to mail this in, then it's fine for you to simply put the URL or web address here that you would be submitting the article to. In addition, if your editor, and they most often do, has credentials that include a doctorate degree, you want to address it as Dr. So-and-so. You can put Dear Editor, but you really want to give proper credential recognition. So if for some reason your editor has a PhD, an EDD, a DNP, a DNS, etc., make sure that you address them appropriately. You're going to talk in this first section a little bit about the article. You're going to put the volume and the issue and talk a little bit about your professional reaction to the article. And you want to provide a clear purpose of the letter. You can simply say, the purpose of my letter is, and you want to make sure that the discussion on the article's topic is appropriate and pertinent to the issue that's addressed in the article. Next, you want to provide a more evidence-based or and or experiential and literature support based reflection on the article. So add a little bit of information. Talk not only about the article that you're writing about, but bring in a little bit of evidence from the literature to support what you're thinking about this article. And you can also discuss a little bit about your personal reflection. How will you change your own practice, or will you not change your practice by reading this letter? Lastly, you want to provide a conclusive paragraph. You want to talk a little bit about the restatement of your purpose, not in the exact words, but just a summary, and to highlight the main points of your paper. It's important when you're writing a letter to the editor to make it succinct and brief. Simply a page, single-spaced. Now, this paper does need to be in APA format with regard to citing the article within text citations, but you do not have to have a reference paper, and you do not have to have this double-spaced. In fact, it needs to be single-spaced for it to be an appropriate letter. All right. Next, we want for you to take a look at the Creative Professional Identity Project Guidelines and Rubric. This is another one of your assignments that's going to be due, and it is essentially a fun creative project which talks a little bit about the reflection of your own professional identity, as well as what you can reflect on for your future identity as a BSN prepared nurse. We'll go over this a little bit more next week, but make sure that you open it and do review it before next week comes. Additionally, you want to create a YouTube account if you do not already have one. You need to create a YouTube account because if you do not have a YouTube account, you won't be able to create the Professional Identity Project link, which you will submit as your assignment. When you create a professional identity project, you will essentially be creating a presentation and video using one of several media tools that you choose. After you create that video, you must post it to YouTube and post the video as a link in the grading center. If you submit us the video without having YouTube link, your grade will be affected. So again, look at these YouTube instructions on how to create an account for yourself for this course. The next thing we'd like for you to do is just to take a little reflection back on your own activities and discussion for Module 1 and to see if you would take a different approach to your answer. Alright, so your submitted assignments this week are listed as your discussion board assignment, number 3, and your letter to the editor project. I've put some information here on your letter to the editor project will be helpful for you finding a journal that publishes a letter to the editor. Please read this section and refer to the attachments below, which should be very explanatory in helping you locate whether or not the journal that you choose with the article that you have chosen actually publishes a letter to the editor. Next, this is where you will do your discussion assignment for Module 3. This week's discussion focuses on miscommunication and cultural competence. You will be asked to talk about a time where you were the source of miscommunication. That's important because each one of us has had difficulty with therapeutic communication, whether in practice with patients, with other nurses, with other providers, etc. So, in addition to posting your own reflection on whether or not, or a time where you've been the source of miscommunication, you're going to respond to your classmates, 2 of them, and give them some questions on their reflection on their own miscommunication to help dialogue a little bit more. As usual, please bring resources and citation in with references to support your answer. Lastly, for this week, this is where you will submit your letter to the editor assignment when it is complete. Again, we've attached the project guidelines as well as the sample format here for you to review. Please make sure that you review these entirely and read them closely before submitting the assignment. I believe that's all I have for you this week. Should you have any questions, please feel free to ask and do not hesitate to contact me with any concerns. Thanks and have a great week.